The 2018-19 academic year reminded us once again that our success is defined by one thing: our people. Hardworking students, talented faculty, devoted staff, outstanding alumni, and thousands of loyal Penguin supporters. But we are much more than a random collection of individuals. We are a cohesive team squarely focused on the success of our students, excellence in all that we do, and the continued vitality of our city and our region. And wow, what a year it was. Our students built things, made beautiful music, won national recognition. They explored and traveled the world, took time to volunteer, and together won championships. Our faculty continue to excel, performing international research activities, publishing scholarly works, appearing on worldwide media networks, making it back to Carnegie Hall, and most importantly, they continued their mentorship in the classroom. We won accolades for our leadership, our international enrollment, our cutting-edge advancements in additive manufacturing, and for our continued efforts in maintaining a healthy, clean, and beautiful campus environment. We fished. We rode. We played. We entertained. We built. We listened. But most of all, we succeeded. And today, as we embark on Youngstown State's 111th academic year, let us celebrate our past, reflect on our present, and enthusiastically take charge of a future defined by success, excellence, and engagement. For we are YN proud.
Thank you so much to the extraordinary group that put this together, and that you just marvel at all of the things that our faculty and our students and our staff do in our community and on the campus. And it really, at this time of year, makes you think, well, if you think that was good, watch what we have in mind for the future. Because we've got an extraordinary amount of talent, a lot of things in mind, a lot of tremendous opportunities, and we can't wait to get this academic year started. There were a lot of pictures on the video of people that competed and did extraordinary things statewide, nationally, and so forth. But there were three who were the best in the nation, the best. So we always say it's impossible to make sure that we recognize all of the great work, and you don't want to try to list everything because you'll forget something. And I think these may have been the only three that were the best in the nation recognized. And so the first that I want to just give an extra shout out to is our Small Business Development Center. The National SBDC Excellence and Innovation Award from the U.S. Small Business Administration to the top small business development center in the nation went to ours right here in the Williamson College of Business, our SBDC. If Musa or Pat or any of the folks there, Betty Jo, stand up and take a bow. Number one in the nation. Also, we had an associate professor, Alicia Prieto Langarica. Associate professor was awarded the National Henry L. Alder Award for distinguished teaching from the Mathematical Association of America, the #1 mathematics teacher in the nation. Alicia, please stand up and take a bow. And it just so happens that our leaders were recognized as the #1 Board of Trustees in the nation. The John W. Nason Award for Board Leadership from the Association of Governing Boards of University and Colleges. Our YSU board was selected, recognized in Orlando, Florida, as being the #1 board in all of this country. And so I'm going to introduce them one by one that are here, and then we'll give the whole group a round of applause. Our chair, Dave Dybel, Mr. Chuck George, Mr. Mike Peterson, Mr. Alan Ryan, Ms. Molly Seals, and our students, Victoria Woods and Rocco Core, the #1 board in the nation. Some of you have been here as long as I have and might recall that when the board first hired me, they sent me to New President's School. So they sent me to Harvard, and I graduated from Harvard. 6 days, it was rigorous, but one of the things they said was that you cannot have a great university without a great board. It's impossible. And so we're very, very fortunate that we have a great board, and they were recognized as such, and we appreciate your fine work. We're going to double your pay from 0 to 0, but we appreciate it so much. We're also excited about the fact that we have a new provost at Youngstown State University. I've only had a chance to work with them since, I think it was June 3rd, and I've just enjoyed every single moment of it. He's thoughtful. He's collaborative. He has been in almost every position that any of us have been in, from faculty member, or I guess all the way back from student to faculty member to department chair to dean to president of the academic senate, and now as our provost. And he has taught us a lot of lessons in the last month or so. Sometimes I've been noted to have a little ADD and get excited and do things maybe before I should, and he's been a great calming influence for me to make sure that we use our data, hear all the discussion, make sure we have everyone's input, and I'm so looking forward to his time with us. And just a reminder to the faculty in the room that the all-faculty meeting at 1 p.m. over in the Ford Theater in Bliss Hall, you'll have a chance to hear from Provost Smith. But please, let's give Provost Smith a good penguin welcome. As always, we try to, as we begin the academic year, do a little update. How are we doing? Where would we like to go? What are some of the numbers? What's the data and so forth? And Paul McFadden and his outstanding foundation team are here somewhere, and I wanted to give you a little update on the YSU Foundation We See Tomorrow campaign. It was about 5 years ago that we got together with a consulting firm and talked about what is a logical campaign that we could, with our demographics, our alumni, our benefactors and so forth, what's a good target for us? And they said, you know, if you go a 7-year campaign, you can probably raise between 75 and 80 million. And so when Paul and his staff and we got done with that consulting, we decided that, okay, we're going to make a $100 million campaign. That this consultant doesn't know us quite as well as we know our people. And so we began to work on it. As of today, we're almost 5 years into it. I guess we'll be 5 years into it come December 31st. Quietly, Paul and I had a goal of, by the end of that 5-year period, that we would have our 100 million already, and then we could bump it up a little bit more. Currently, here in August, just shy of 5 years, we're at $94.5 million, which has been extraordinary work by our foundation, our development officers, all of the people, all of the students who write the thank you notes, all of the faculty and staff who engage and so forth. It's been amazing, and probably the thing that's been impacted the most is the expanding of our scholarships. I think, gosh, 40 plus million of that 94.5 is expanding our scholarships, which in this day and age of discussion about student debt and about the high costs of college and so forth, to have that kind of increase in our scholarships is tremendous. I think Elaine Roos was telling me just the other day that the average student debt for a student that finishes at Youngstown State University is down under $20,000 now, $18,000 and some change. That's incredible. When you start thinking about the national average is up near $30,000, and so a lot of it is because of those scholarships, and we appreciate, I think Paul just told me yesterday, 950 scholarships thereabouts that we have, and so that was probably our biggest thing. The thing that Paul talks about the most as we go around and talk to potential philanthropists is 4.5 years ago we had 3 chair professorships, and now we have 12. And we were just talking to someone, was it yesterday, about a 13th one. And when we have a chance to have the branding of chairs and professorships and those opportunities, we believe, and I know Paul's so proud of the fact that it really raises that academic branding and image of the institution. And I think the thing that all of you have noticed is that our campus has taken on a lot of physical beautification. If you think about Wick Avenue and Lincoln, and now with the build grant coming, I know Fifth Avenue doesn't look so beautiful right now, but it's going to close your eyes, and a year from now it's going to look just like Wick, and even better. And you think about the various things on campus, the Communications Center, the Constantini Center, we hope will be done here shortly after Labor Day, and the campus rec, intramural and club sport field up near Cafaro House, we think will be done sometime after Labor Day. We're beginning the work on the Innovation Center. John Hayden and Rich White and their group over the course of the last few summers has had great work with some of our laboratories and some of our teaching space, the Coley Classrooms of the Future and so forth. All of that has been possible because our great folks that feel deeply about Youngstown State University have said, how can I help? John Hayden told me this morning that in the last 5+ years, there's been in the neighborhood of $120 million worth of capital impact, which is extraordinary. And as I listen to people that are now spending a little more time downtown and spending a little bit more time coming to the campus and so forth, perhaps they're alumni, they haven't been here in a while, the thing that they talk the most about is how proud they are of the way that their campus looks, the way that their downtown looks, and all of the things that have been added for the people in the valley to be able to take part in. So that's an extraordinary update in my mind, and that will continue, and you'll need to bear with us. Construction is a good thing. Sometimes we'll have to move around some orange barrels, but it's all good and it's moving forward. Enrollment. We always talk about what's enrollment. As we went into this enrollment period, there were a lot of unknowns. We didn't know what the impact of the GM plant closing. We knew we lost some students at midterm, that their families were transferred and so forth, and the companies that were affected by it. And so we didn't really know, what that impact was going to be. And everyone on campus, every college, every department, the admission staff, the enrollment staff was working like crazy with the idea that, hey, it's going to be harder. We know the realities of some of the difficult situations. So year over year to date from a year ago, we're nearly 400 students down. Nearly 400 students. Now, this day last year to the 14th day of the semester, there was an increase in 400 students. Okay? Now, we maybe increased more than that and lost some. And so I guess the reminder for all of us, not that we need a reminder to do a great job with every single student, but every single student who does begin here, let's not lose any of them. Let's make sure that every single one of them has that feeling that, hey, this is where I'd like to be. I know I can get it done. Every time I come around the corner, there's someone there to help me. Because enrollment clearly is our biggest driver. Now, the state of Ohio, in their last budget, I thought was very fair. They increased state subsidy a little bit. They allowed us to have the Penguin Promise tuition increase, which will lock in tuition for 4 years for the new cohort and so forth. They were very good to us in terms of creating a $1 million program through the Appalachian Region Commission to give us a chance to take the Innovation Center and have technicians and growth and have actual people to make sure we operate it and that it ends up being something that we can sustain. So the state was as good as they've been in the last few years, and so they've increased Choose Ohio First money, they've increased OCOG in terms of the Ohio Opportunity Grant funding for our students. So they've helped, I think, as much as we could expect. We've got to work extremely hard on the enrollment thing. And if you remember what enrollment is, it's partially how many do we attract, but primarily how many do we keep. And that's what we always have to keep in mind. Attracting is very important, and we always want to talk about that, but keeping them. Retention, we kind of talk about is when they first get here, do they come back for a second year? 5 years ago, we were at about 68%. We got it up to as high as 76%, which was good. It dipped down into about 74.8 this past year. What it will end up this year, we're not sure. It's a little preliminarily in the 73, 74 range. It would be nice if we could get it to the 75, 76. But retention is the key. What we do with our students once they get here is the key. And then persistence beyond that retention year. That retention year is the first year. Persistence is how do we do from year 2 to 3, from year 3 to 4. And what's neat about some of the trending that they were sharing with me just yesterday is our persistence from year 2 to 3 was in the 50%, 56, 55% range for years, and now we're in the 60s. Okay, so we're keeping more further down the line. Our year 3 to year 4 was in the 40s, but now it's in the mid-50s. So we're keeping it more. And to me, the most exciting thing is when we take the 2013 cohort and we end up doing the 6-year federal graduation rate, which is the graduation rate that everyone in the world sees. For the first time that I can ever remember, we're going to be over 40%. We had been living in the 32, 33, 34% range, and that's the thing that shows up on everyone's lists and so forth. When this 2013 cohort, when it gets finalized with the 2019 numbers, it's going to be up in the 40.5, 41% and moving forward. So as we do a better job with retention, when they first get here, get them back, and then persistence toward their degree, it is going to be a positive thing as we continue. But retention, persistence, graduation, that's huge. So, as I mentioned, the budget is most impacted by enrollment. I think, I don't know, Neil, 70% of our budget, something like that, is enrollment driven. So, obviously, when you're a few students down, and we've been fortunate over the last 4 years, if you take the last 4 years, some of our partners in Northeast Ohio have been down double digits significantly, and over those 4 years, we've been up just a titch, about 1.8%. So we're going to be a little less than flat. We were praying we would be flat, but we're going to be a little less than that. So that will affect our budget. So what does that mean? That just means, save every paper clip, turn the lights off. I mean, anything that you can possibly do. I know how hard everyone works on making sure the students know how deeply we care. We need to do that even just a little bit more. Every single thing that we can possibly do, and obviously we're not like some entities. We are not allowed to be in deficit. There are countries and so forth. We're not allowed to be. Okay, so we have to make sure we do a great job. I promise you, our board, they have a lot of things they're excited about. The one that I know can most quickly end my career is if we're not in the black. And so give me a little love there and make sure we stay in the black. So speaking of our board, and there's a little shot of some of the folks down in Orlando as they were getting their Nason Award. And this past academic year, they really spent a lot of time with our strategic planning groups. They spend as much time as they can with anyone who will spend time with them. And they drafted a resolution with the theme being, take charge of our future. Because remember, they're either graduates of here or live in the community or whatever, but their passion is about this region, this university, and its impact. And they know, they're out in the world, they know the conversations that go on in the world about education, the debates about education and so forth, the challenges that we all know we have in education. And so their whole thrust with us was, let's make sure we take charge of our future. That we're not going to be at the ebb and flow of what's going on. We're going to make decisions to take charge of our future. And so in that resolution, I just wanted to share with you, and this isn't new, this was out on the web and so forth after they had passed this resolution in an official board meeting. But just as a reminder to all of us, they have charged us to make sure we increase our efficiency of operation. Any efficiency we can do better, they would like us to work to do so. They would like us to make sure it's real clear that we align our policies with our procedures. What it is we say we would like to accomplish, what we say we would like to be, that make sure that the procedures involved move us in that direction. That 3, we clearly must focus on student success. Every board meeting we have, they talk about the fact that bringing the discussion back to student success, I like to say student futures. They clearly want us to focus on that. And not only with graduating with a degree or getting a job, but they want to make sure that we are graduating young people with a strong sense of self, and I quote, who are empowered to grow intellectually, socially, and ethically, who are globally aware, engaged, and inspired to positively impact society. That's in the resolution that they're challenging all of us to make sure we have in place. In the resolution, they state they want us to constantly work on increasing educational quality. Get better every day, Macte Virtute, however you want to say it. Focus on research in a strategic manner. We know we can't be all things to all people and do all things. Focus on what we can do from a strategic manner in research. To pay particular attention to enrolling new groups of students, students that maybe we haven't had before. They want us to pay close attention to that. To build partnerships with community stakeholders. To attain an enhanced level of technological capacity and external capacity. And lastly, in the resolution, to use reliable data through the governance structure to analyze the information so that we can make well-informed decisions as we bring them to the board. That's what they want us to do. And that's the resolution, that's our marching orders, and we're excited about going forward. We've been spending a lot of time with the discussion on our strategic planning. And all of the big picture things, as shown in this Venn diagram, with the students' futures in mind, both their vocational, what they're going to do from a work standpoint, but also who they are and how they'll be a part of society and have that desire to be lifelong learners. That's clearly a focal point. Academic distinction, discovery of knowledge, research, a responsibility that we believe we have, and that collective impact on the region. It's critical. We've been talking about how are we going to most effectively do that. So the entire campus community, all of last year, was really engaged. We started the strategic planning website. We had lots of good interaction, good questions, good suggestions, good thoughts brought forward. We brought in thought leaders from all different parts of the country, all different situations, to elicit discussion, to think about what is it that we should define who we are as we go forward in these challenging times. We've spent a lot of time, and we will continue. And one thing that Provost Smith has kind of given us direction on is that he really thinks that he would like to spend a significant amount of time this semester, going into the second semester, with the Academic Senate, with the colleges, with the faculty, with all of the various people, as we're trying to put together that good data that the board resolved we would do and begin to analyze what directions we should go, with the idea that perhaps a year from now, we really have a clear definition of who we are, and we have taken charge of our future. But Provost Smith and our board really want to make sure it's a thoughtful discussion, it's a transparent discussion, it's a discussion that everyone has had a chance to be involved in, and we're going to move forward this entire year as we go from there. In the meantime, though, Provost Smith has talked about we have to continue to improve in some areas, and he calls those momentum gainers. We don't know exactly what our strategic plan is going to look like, but we do know we need to gain momentum as we move forward into whatever that plan ends up being. And so I wanted to give you a little list of some of the things that we've been talking about and he's been working on. As the board has asked us to do, first and foremost, we want to become as efficient as we can. We have the resources we have. We have the human capacity that we have. How can we most efficiently make use of that? Make sure that we're working on our governance enhancements. Every single day, Provost Smith talks about the time that he spent as a faculty member or a department chair or a dean and the interaction and the impact of an academic senate, that they can truly be differential. And that's a momentum gainer that I know he wants to work extremely hard. Retention and completion plan. The state of Ohio mandates that we continue to work on retention and completion plans, regardless of how our strategic plan ends up choosing our own future, taking charge of our own future. We have to continue with that retention, that persistence, that graduation, which is what we're all about. Integrating a student technology plan. Let's face it, most of our students that come here are really technology-based. Some of us, old folks, Chet, aren't. We need to get there, Chet. We all need to do a better job of meeting our people where they are. And so we've got to make sure that we have a momentum gainer of an integrated student technology success plan in technology. Degree audit system. I know there's been a lot of discussion about the student having a clear understanding of what is it I need to get done to move toward where I'd like to go. And we've got to gain some momentum, and we've got to enhance that area. First year experience. We've been talking about that. Dr. Berardini and Betty Jo and her committee and so forth. The first year is so critical. Who was it, Plato, that said the beginning is half the journey? The first year experience has such an impact on retention, then persistence, then graduation. We have to make sure we're working there. Redesigned advising. The number one thing a student needs in my 45 years working with college students is, first and foremost, they need to know that the people care about me, and do I have someone to go to who can help me? Now, sometimes it's a faculty member, sometimes it's an advisor, sometimes it's someone in the residence hall, it's a coach, it's whomever. but we've got to make sure that we have the advisement for them. So those are some of the things I know Provost Smith and the Office of Academic Affairs want to make sure that we're gaining momentum as we're building the strategic plan that we're working on. And also keeping in mind, we have lots of opportunities. We say all the time that here we sit within 1 hour drive of 7 million people and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies and many, many, many opportunities in all of the various fields that we're passionate about. We've got to take advantage of our opportunities. Certificate programs, we have to constantly be thinking about how can we provide some certificate programs. We hear business and industry, we hear people talk all the time about we need to continually train our workforce. One of two things is going to happen. Business and industry is going to train their own, or business and industry is going to look to us and going to pay us to train. We must be thinking constantly as we're going forward on certificate programs. Distance education, as we say, we need to meet them where they are. We need to be good at the graph that shows our students and how many of them take at least one class that's distance has just been going up. That's what they want. Now, we don't have that many students that take all their classes that way, but we have to make sure that we're working on our distance options. Collaborations. It's amazing. It's almost exhausting. I started to write down all of the various people that we've been having meetings with just in the last 3 or 4 months. The collaborations with people like the Air Base, the Oak Ridge National Laboratories. We were just down with them in Knoxville, Tennessee. The Department of Energy's been to campus 2 or 3 times with some big collaboration discussions. The Department of Defense is constantly in talking to our faculty and asking them about research and so forth. We were just last Friday, we met with Lordstown Motor Company, the group that's trying to become the #1 electric truck company in the world. And they called us and said, we need to get together with your talent. So we brought our faculty, we brought our people in that could be helpful with them. Those collaborations are critical. Mercy Health, constant collaboration. We just met with them yesterday. Akron Children's Hospital, great collaborations. Valeric, YBI, America Makes, Humtown, Eastern Gateway, Youngstown City Schools. Siemens Corporation was just in. We had a 7 a.m. meeting. We had 2 executives from Siemens worldwide that came in for a 7 a.m. meeting to talk about how they could collaborate with us. Not to mention all the social agencies, all of the medical things, whether it's the Midlothian Free Clinic or you name it. We have so many collaborative opportunities that we've got to make sure we continue to build them, have them continue to grow so that we can make that impact that we want to make. We have to be constantly evaluating and exploring programs, evaluating the ones we have and exploring new ones we might need to have. That's got to be happening as we're moving toward the strategic plan. And then, not lastly, because I think our opportunities are endless, but I think every one of us believe in this room that there's no one that has more impact on this region than we do. The impact is amazing. The needs are amazing. The numbers of students, I don't even know how many, Amy, 60,000 hours or something in the Honors College. Is that right, 60,000? 60,000 hours of community service into our community, to the young people, pen pals and tutoring and so forth. So many things that we connect with. The impact we have is amazing, and we have to continue to have that impact. There's a need. We are the leader of that impact. Today, we'll have a chance to, right outside, have our YSU United Way Collaborative Day. In fact, I think they've even got some food out there for us. They've been a tremendous partner. Our students who go get involved in Success After 6, Success Before 6, tutoring. It's amazing. And this is United Way's 100th anniversary. I heard someone say on the video, it's our 111th. Wow. That was Chair Dybel's sophomore year when we started. Our 111th year in United Way's 100th. The impact that our students have. I think it's clear, those of us that have been around education for a long time, today's student has a genuine desire to help others. I think there's no question. Just talk to them. Just see what's important to them. No one can have more impact in this region than we can. So we hope you take a minute here when we're done. I promised them we would go short today so that you'd have time to go over to the United Way and make sure that we're developing that collaboration as we go. So, as we think about what do we need to do going forward, and we think about getting involved in the discussions with strategic planning, and we research and we think about the needs of society, and we think about the needs of business and industry, and we think about the futures that we want our students to have, and we think about the distinction that we want to have. Right now, we have to get this right. And I think that's why the board made that resolution that said we have to take charge of our future. Sure, we've had some tough times. Way back when Steele left. Recently, whether it be Northside or GM or some of the companies affected by GM, there's no doubt. And I think back to when you get old, you get reflective. And I was a head coach for about 320-some games. And I think about all the lessons we learned during those games and after, and reflecting back and analyzing. And thinking back that, not all of them went well, but whether they went well or they didn't, we learned something from them. And sometimes I could go back through my personal history from that standpoint. We probably learned more from the hard ones. I think about the things personally. Probably learned more from the difficult times than the times that it was going that great. So we've got some challenges, there's no doubt. I think our opportunities the list is way longer of opportunities than hardships. But as the board says, we do have to take charge of our future. We have to make some tough decisions. We have to do our due diligence. We have to make sure that we analyze the needs. And we have to make sure we do it together. And as I was thinking back to those 300 and some odd games that I coached, I know every single one of them I was nervous. Just like every beginning of the academic year, these students coming in are nervous. They are. I don't care if they're seniors. They're nervous because all of a sudden they're saying, oh my gosh, I only have one more year and I have to do something. I mean, everyone, regardless of where you are, you're a little bit nervous. And you work hard, and no one works harder than this campus. When I'm with my colleagues and I see their lists of, they got 17 vice presidents, and they got this many of that and this many of that, I'm thinking, wow, we've got a place that everyone seems to do about 4 things. Our group works extremely hard. But it doesn't mean that, we're not nervous. It doesn't mean that as we get ready to go in and face the challenges of the day, it's a nervous time. And so in every single one of those 300 and some games, right before it started, just like today, we're right before it started, we reminded one another what it was we needed from one another. And we said a little poem, and it was, maybe a little corny for a bunch of guys to be saying a poem. The poem had like 7 verses. We were a football team. We only got to 1 verse. But the verse went like this. It said, I am only one but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And that I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I shall do. And that was just a reminder that that's really all we need, regardless of, what the state budgets are, or how many students we end up with on the 14th day, or whatever it happens to be. As long as we'll do what we can do, each and every one of us play whatever role that is, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. In fact, we have a little, we used to always say, if it's going to be, if we're going to be successful, we have to take some personal responsibility. If it's going to be, it's up to me. I got to do my part. I've got to play my position. I've got to play my role. I've got to think about where I can be helpful to the group. But really what's more important is if it's going to be, it's up to we, collectively. Each and every one of us doing our part, appreciating one another, understanding the importance of one another, and if we will do everything we're capable of doing, we'll save enough paper clips to balance the budget. We'll make an impact on our region. We'll constantly raise that distinction of our academic programs, and we'll ensure that the futures of the students who believed in us and said, I want to be a part of you, will assure that their futures are going to be just fine. But it takes we. And there's nothing more fun than to get a group of good people coming together to begin for a common cause. Nothing is better than that. So we appreciate all that you're going to do. In fact, on your way out, make sure you do two things. One, we got you a little thing to hang up in your office, just to remind yourself that, yes, we need you, but we also need we, and that we've got to keep our eye on the bullseye as we're doing that planning and really refining who we're going to be as we're taking charge of our future, which we've been asked to do. Thanks so much for all of you being here today. God bless you, and go Penguins!